Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yesterday we were discussing about cell wall. Yesterday we discussed about primary cell wall. Now you know this primary cell wall. It is formed of a gel-like matrix. What is that gel-like matrix known as? In primary cell wall, there is a gel-like matrix of hemicellulose. Then in this matrix, there are these cellulose microfibrils. Cellulose microfibrils. And then these cellulose microfibrils, they are joined by pectins and short peptides. They join the cellulose microfibrils in the form of a network. So all these components together, they form the primary cell wall. So the composition of primary cell wall is, it is having a gel-like matrix of hemicellulose. In that matrix, there are cellulose microfibrils in different directions in the form of a network. And those cellulose microfibrils, they are tied together by pectins and short peptides. So this forms the primary cell wall. Now, as the cell reaches to maturity, as the cell grows older, then a secondary cell wall is formed. This secondary cell wall, it is again having the same constituents. Hemicellulose, cellulose microfibrils. Secondary cell wall is also having almost the same constituents. Hemicellulose, cellulose microfibrils. But this secondary cell wall, it is laid in 3 layers. S1, S2, and S3. Secondary cell wall is laid in 3 layers, and those 3 layers are known as S1, S2, and S3. In each of these layers, the direction of cellulose microfibrils is different from the other layer. I will show this in diagram. In secondary cell wall, there are 3 layers. The 3 layers are S1, S2, and S3. Secondary wall first, secondary wall second, and secondary wall third. So suppose this is the middle lamella. When the cell wall formation begins, first a little middle lamella is formed. This is the middle lamella. On this middle lamella is laid a primary cell wall. On middle lamella is laid primary cell wall. This is the primary cell wall, right? Then on this primary cell wall, secondary cell wall is laid in 3 different layers. This is S1, then this is S2, then this is S3. So this is middle lamella. On middle lamella, a primary cell wall is formed. This is primary cell wall. Then on primary cell wall is formed the secondary cell wall. This is secondary cell wall. This is the S1 layer of secondary cell wall. This is S2 layer of secondary cell wall. This is S3 layer of secondary cell wall. Now what is the difference? Suppose in S1 layer, the cellulose microfibrils are in this direction. In S2 layer, the cellulose microfibrils will be in this direction. In S3, the cellulose microfibrils may be in this direction. So how do they differ from each other now? The 3 layers of secondary cell wall, they differ from each other in the direction of their cellulose microfibrils. In primary cell wall, cellulose microfibrils were in the form of a network. Cellulose microfibrils were running in all directions. They were in the form of a network. But in secondary cell wall, cellulose microfibrils, they are in three different directions. So this provides further strength to the secondary cell. This makes the secondary cell wall more strong, right? What is the basic composition of this secondary cell wall? So it is again having a gel-like matrix of hemicellulose, and in that gel-like matrix of hemicellulose, these cellulose microfibrils, they are lying in different directions. These are cellulose microfibrils. These cellulose microfibrils are lying in different directions. Now, in this secondary cell wall, in certain plants, a substance known as lignin may be deposited. If lignin is deposited in the secondary cell wall, then the secondary cell wall forms wood. So, in woody tissues, secondary cell wall is deposited with a polyphenolic substance. This is a polyphenolic substance. Secondary cell wall is deposited with a polyphenolic substance. That polyphenolic substance is known as lignin. And this lignin forms wood. And these woody tissues, they are the strongest tissues. They give mechanical strength to the trees and plants, right? So you might have seen large trees. Those large trees, how they can support, how they can bear their body weight. They have got a large number of branches and leaves and fruits. So how they are able to bear that weight? That weight is borne by the strength of the wood. So in their secondary cell walls, a substance known as the lignin is deposited. This lignin is a polyphenolic substance, and this lignin, it forms the wood, which provides strength to these trees, large trees. However, in some plants in the secondary cell wall, another substance known as suberin may be deposited. If suberin is deposited in the secondary cell wall, then it forms cork. It forms cork. What is this suberin? It is basically a lipid. Suberin is a lipid formed of long chain fatty acids known as suberic acid. Suberin acid plus glycerol. So fatty acid chains known as suberin acid, when they combine with glycerol, they form lipid. And when this lipid is deposited in the secondary cell wall of certain plants, those plants, they form cork. You know, cork is a soft spongy tissue. Have you ever seen a piece of cork? Have you ever seen a piece of cork? कभी cork का टुकड़ा देखा है? That is a wood-like substance, but that is compressible, that is soft, right? That was in earlier days used to cover. That was used instead of cap for bottling, right? So this cork, it is a soft tissue, and its softness is because of presence of a lipid in its secondary cell wall. That lipid is known as suberin, right? So in this way, after the formation of primary cell wall, a secondary cell wall is formed. This secondary cell wall is not formed in a single layer. It is formed in three different layers. Those three different layers, they are known as secondary wall first, secondary wall second, secondary wall third. How do these three different layers differ from each other? They differ from each other in the direction of cellulose microfibrils. In S1, the direction of cellulose microfibrils is different from the S2 layers, and in S2 layer, the direction of cellulose microfibrils is different from the S3 layer. So this different direction of cellulose microfibrils, it makes it more stronger than the primary cell wall. Then this secondary cell wall may be further strengthened by deposition of lignin to form wood or deposition of suberin to form cork, right? So this is the composition of primary cell wall and secondary cell wall. Is this cell wall laid all around the plant cell? Let us see that. ये समझ आया आपको? Now a plant cell is not completely isolated from another plant cell. This is one plant cell. It is neighboring plant cell, adjacent plant cell. So these plant cells, they are covered by rigid cell wall. Then how do these plant cells make exchange of materials between them? How do these plant cells make exchange of materials between them? Do plant cells make exchange of materials between them? As animal cells in a tissue. Suppose this is a tissue. It has got animal cells in it. These animal cells, they can make exchange of materials through their plasma membrane. Since these cells are covered by plasma membrane, their plasma membrane is permeable. Their plasma membrane is semi-permeable. So exchange of materials occurs between the cells. Exchange of materials occurs between the cells through plasma membrane. What is the case in plant tissues? These are plant cells. They are covered by a rigid cell wall. Do they make exchange of materials between them? Plant cells do make exchange of materials between them. How do plant cells make exchange of materials between them? This cell wall in a plant cell at many places is not laid. Suppose this is a plant cell. This is a plant cell. At some places, the cell wall is not laid. And those places in a plant cell where the cell wall is not laid, those places are known as pits. This is a plant cell. In this plant cell, there are certain areas in the cell wall where the cell wall is not laid. So between two adjacent plant cells, there is the middle lamella. This is the middle lamella. Between two adjacent plant cells, there is middle lamella. Then on the one surface of middle lamella, there is primary cell wall. This is the primary cell wall. On the surface, other surface of middle lamella, there is also primary cell wall. This is primary cell wall. So on the both surfaces of middle lamella, there is primary cell wall. As I told you yesterday, when a plant cell divides, it divides by the formation of middle lamella in its cytoplasm. Then on the two surfaces of middle lamella, a primary cell wall is there. So this is a primary cell wall. This is a primary cell wall. It is present on both the surfaces of middle lamella. It is on the internal surface of middle lamella as well as on the external surface of middle lamella, right? Then on this primary cell wall, a secondary cell wall is there. So I will show secondary cell wall dotted here. After the formation of primary cell wall, a secondary cell wall is formed. This is the secondary cell wall. I will show it dotted here so that you may not get confused. This secondary cell wall is also present internally. So this is secondary cell wall. This is also secondary cell. And in this cell wall, there are certain areas where in this cell, there are certain areas where the cell wall is not formed. So these areas where the cell wall is not formed, these areas are known as pits. They are known as pits. And these pits, they are always in pairs. If the pit is on this side, it will be also present on its opposite side. This is the cell wall of a plant cell. It has got a pit on this side. On its opposite side, there will be also a pit. If a pit is present here on this side, on its opposite side, there will be also a pit. Since these pits are present always in pairs, so these are known as pit pairs. Pits are also known as, we call them as pit pairs. Why we call them as pit pairs? They are because they are always present on the opposite walls of the cell, right? So in this cell wall, there are certain areas where the cell wall is not laid. These areas where there are holes in the cell wall, these are known as pits. Since they are present in pairs, that is why we call them as pit pairs. Then through these pit pairs, strands of cytoplasm from one cell are linked with the strands of cytoplasm of another cell. This is the plasma membrane of one cell. This plasma membrane is continuous with the plasma membrane of a neighboring cell through these pits. This is the plasma membrane. Inside the plasma membrane, there is a large central vacuole. There is a nucleus. The nucleus, there are chromosomes. This is the cytoplasm. So strands of cytoplasm of one cell, they are continuous with the strands of cytoplasm of another cell. So cytoplasmic strands of two neighboring cells, they are continuous through these pit pairs. Through these pits, cytoplasm of one cell, it is linked with the cytoplasm of another cell. It is linked with cytoplasm of another cell. It is linked with cytoplasm of another cell. Right? These strands of cytoplasm, which pass through these pits, these strands of cytoplasm, they are known as plasmodesmata. They are known as plasmodesmata. These strands of cytoplasm, which pass from one cell to another cell, which is joined with the cytoplasm of another cell. This strand of cytoplasm, this is known as plasmodesmata. So through this plasmodesmata, one plant cell is joined, it is continuous, it is linked with another plant cell. So through these plasmodesmata, one plant cell is linked with another plant cell, and exchange of materials between plant cells occurs through them. So materials may pass in or pass out through these plasmodesmata. So this is how plant cells exchange materials between them. Otherwise, it is impossible for plant cells to exchange materials between them because they are surrounded by rigid cell wall, which is very thick. But in this cell wall, there are some areas where the cell wall is not laid, where it is in the form of holes or pits. So those holes or pits, they are present in opposite direction on the cell wall. For that reason, they are known as pit pairs. And through this pit pairs, cytoplasm of one cell is linked, it's continuous with the cytoplasm of another cell. So that helps in the exchange of materials through the cell wall, right? So that is all about the cell wall. Now you know cell wall in plants is formed of two layers, primary cell wall and secondary cell wall. They are laid on the two surfaces of the middle lamella. Suppose this is the middle lamella. On the two surfaces of the middle lamella, a primary cell wall is laid. A primary cell wall is laid on this side, primary cell wall is laid on this side. Then on the two surfaces, the secondary cell wall is laid. Secondary cell wall is laid here, secondary cell wall is laid here. So in between two adjacent plant cells, there is always a middle lamella. There is always a middle lamella. And on the two surfaces of the middle lamella, there is primary cell wall and secondary cell wall. So that is all about the composition of cell wall in plant cells, right? I hope you understood it. Are you there listening?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now after cell wall, we have discussed the cell membrane in prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now we will discuss about another cell organelle that is known as nucleus. Who discovered this nucleus? The credit for discovery of nucleus goes to Robert Brown. Robert Brown in 1831. The credit for discovery of nucleus goes to Robert Brown in 1831. So this nucleus, it is commonly known as director of the cell. Nucleus is commonly known as director of the cell. Well, why this nucleus is commonly known as director of the cell? Because all the cellular activities, all the cellular metabolic processes, all the metabolic processes of the cell, they are under the control of nucleus. That is why it is known as director of the cell, right? Nucleus is known as director of the cell because all the metabolic activities of the cell, they are under the control of nucleus. All the activities of the cell, they are under the control of nucleus. That is why we call it as director of the cell. Do all cells have nucleus? Do all cells have nucleus? Nucleus is present almost in all eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells, they don't have a nucleus. But eukaryotic cells, they almost all of the eukaryotic cells have nucleus, except nucleus is absent in a mature mammalian RBC. Mature mammalian RBCs. We may not find a nucleus in mature mammalian RBC. These RBCs, they are enucleated. They are enucleated. That means they possess a nucleus when they are being formed. When the RBC formation begins, they have a nucleus. But as these RBC mature, they store hemoglobin in them. Their nucleus is removed to provide all the space for the storage of hemoglobin. So when a cell loses its nucleus in the process of maturation, that cell is said to be enucleated. Enucleated means the nucleus has been removed in the process of maturation. So RBCs are the animal cells. We do not possess a nucleus when they become mature, right? Similarly, there are some plant cells which do not have nucleus. For example, some plant cells, the tracheids and vessels of xylem, right? Sieve tube cells of phloem, they do not have a nucleus. So there are some cells which do not have a nucleus, but all the cells have a nucleus. What is the number of nuclei per cell? How many nuclei are contained in a single cell? Usually cells are mononucleated. Generally, the cells are mononucleated. Cells have got a single nucleus. But there are some cells which are binucleated, which have two nuclei. For example, paramecium. A paramecium has got two nuclei. One nucleus of the paramecium is known as meganucleus. Another nucleus is known as micronucleus. This is the large nucleus of paramecium. This is the meganucleus, and this is the small nucleus of a paramecium. This is known as micronucleus. This is mega or macronucleus. This is the micronucleus, small nucleus, right? So some cells are binucleated. For example, paramecium. Some cells are multinucleated. Some cells are multinucleated. They have got many nuclei. Some cells are multinucleated. For example, skeletal muscle cells. Skeletal muscle cells. Skeletal muscle cells of our body, they have got many nuclei in them. This is the skeletal muscle cell. It has got many nuclei in it. So this condition is known as multinucleated, right? So generally, cells are uninucleated, but some cells are binucleated. They have two nuclei. And there are some cells which have many nuclei. So that condition is known as multinucleated condition. A multinucleated animal cell is said to be syncytium, that is called as syncytial cell. A multinucleated animal cell. A multinucleated animal cell is known as syncytium, or we call it as a syncytial cell. Syncytial cell, right? A multinucleated plant cell. A multinucleated plant cell is known as cynocytic. Cynocytic. Or it is known as a cynocyte. Cynocyte. You have to remember these two terms. A multinucleated animal cell is known as syncytium or syncytial. A multinucleated plant cell is known as cynocytic or cynocyte, right? So generally cells are uninucleated, but there are some cells which may be binucleated. Some cells are multinucleated, right? So that is the number of nuclei per cell. Then what about the shape of nucleus? What is the shape of nucleus in a cell? Nuclei, they vary in shape. Mostly the nucleus is spherical in shape. Mostly nucleus is spherical in shape. But in some cells, it may be oval. In some cells, it may be bean-shaped. Bean-shaped. In some cells, it may be horseshoe-shaped. Horseshoe-shaped. In some cells, it may be lobed. It may be bilobed. It may be trilobed. It may be multilobed. So the shape of nucleus varies in different cells. Generally, the cells are having spherical nucleus. Generally, the cells have a spherical nucleus in them. But there are some cells which have got an oval nucleus in them. In some cells, the nucleus may be bean-shaped, or sometimes it is known as kidney-shaped. Bean-shaped or kidney-shaped nucleus. Right? In some cells, the nucleus is somewhat horseshoe-shaped. In some cells, the nucleus may be lobed. It may be bilobed, having 2 lobes. It may be trilobed, having 3 lobes. Or sometimes it may be having more than 2 lobes. We call that as multilobed, right? So the shape of nucleus, it varies from one cell to another cell. It may be spherical, oval, bean-shaped, kidney-shaped, horseshoe-shaped. It may be lobed, bilobed, trilobed, multilobed. So that is the shape of nucleus. What about the average size of nucleus in eukaryotic cells? The average size of nucleus in eukaryotic cells is 10 microns. The average size of nucleus in eukaryotic cells is 10 microns, right? So that is about the shape, size, and number of nuclei per cell. Now we are going to discuss about the structure of the nucleus. We have to see the internal structure of the nucleus. Since our time has run out, so this is sufficient for today. See you in the next lecture. We will discuss it in another lecture. Thank you. Are you there?